I'm here to talk to you today about the points of inquiry, the model for doing inquiry research that was developed by the British Columbia Teacher Librarians Association. I like this model because it shows you in a very graphic manner that good inquiry is a cycle. And it doesn't really matter where you jump into the cycle, it matters that you jump in. I'm going to start at the connect and wonder point, the top of it, just because it's easy for me to follow my thinking through, but you can begin anywhere on this. I know a lot of people who begin their inquiry by starting to build something, and then they start asking questions about why they're doing it. But let's begin with the construct and wonder, because that's how I work. So construct and wonder is really about describing what you already know about a topic and then figuring out where there are things you need to learn or need to understand in order to become more expert with it. As you're doing this, as you describe what people already know about a subject, as you describe areas where there's knowledge deficits, you start to begin developing questions that probe those deficits. You begin asking, well, why don't we know that? Or what could we do to find out about that? And then after you've done this for a while, you settle on one meaningful question. One thing you really want to find out, and you're willing to do the work to dig into it. You may come back and revisit this as you gather information or as you try solutions out, but this is where I usually start my research. The next step is investigating. I like the crime scene nature of this, but I also like the fact that the stairwells form a spiral as you're digging down deeper and deeper, or pulling away from your subject matter. And that reminds us that investigation is recursive. You start, you ask a question, you may circle back to that question, you may move on from it. And as you're doing this, you're identifying types of information and sources of information, you're making notes and journals, you're keeping really good records so that you don't double back and do the same thing twice, like I did in my undergrad work. You're also practicing good media literacy, and you're evaluating your sources and the information you find for validity. Whether it's good information, whether the sources are good sources, but also whether they connect to your investigation in a meaningful manner. And of course, because you're much better at this than I was when I was a teenager, you are summarizing, paraphrasing, and citing sources as you go. Remember to ask your teacher what citation method you should be using, MLA, APA, Chicago, Tiberian, what have you. And finally, you are going to organize and store your data. Don't know why that one came in another spot. Oops, and I missed another one as well. You are going to assess completeness, and you're going to repeat. Investigating takes time. Investigating, you may find you do something and then you try something out and then you have to go back and try it again. You're always assessing whether you have enough information to answer your question or whether you need to do more. You can be paralyzed by trying to have complete information. We've all learned from the last few years that you can never really have complete information. You can have the best available to you for now, and then you have to act on it. Our next step after we've done all this investigation is to move towards construction, although this picture looks a bit like destruction. But construction is really important because construction is the element where you're testing out your hypothesis, you're testing your answer, and you're seeing how the pieces fit together. You're constructing a model of your question. You're constructing how your audience is going to interact with it. And that's the key thing we're going to come to in a moment, an audience. So as you're doing this, you're going to identify the key information that you've come up with in your research, your investigation, what you need to have to show your answer. It's not just about having an answer, it's about showing an answer and communicating an answer. Because an answer that's not shared with other people really it's just a mental game you're playing. And so to really do this well, you have to construct a product to demonstrate your answer, to demonstrate that what you have learned and why it matters more than just you. And that's really important, because good inquiry isn't about just satisfying a mental itch. It's about why this matters to other people, to people outside yourself. And now you begin the planning, writing, and practicing your explanations, because the next step is taking it to other people. Take it out and show it to the world. It may just be your class. It may be that you have a Pinterest account, or you're on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or X, whatever it's called these days. Or you may be taking it to a science fair, or even further out, you may be testing a model for a new product, building a business. All of these are forms of expression. And for that, you really need to think through how you're going to deliver your answer to an audience. Who is your audience? What media are you going to use to enhance your presentation? Audiences don't all think and learn the same way. I learn very well from text and from presentations and podcasts. Other people need these images. And you'll note, I had images in all of these. Each of those images spoke to something in what I was talking about. But you're going to have to think that through. What media is going to enhance your presentation so that your audience understands in the best possible way? And because you are a responsible researcher and citizen, you're going to cite and credit your sources, not just because it's the responsible thing to do, but because it establishes your authority as a researcher. It establishes that you did the work, the responsible work, in a responsible manner, and that helps your audience understand why they should believe you. Doing a bibliography, doing your sources, crediting your sources isn't just about showing where you got stuff. It's about proving you did things in a particular way that is acceptable to the audience you're appealing to. It's your credibility, your credit score, if you will. Okay. And finally, we come to the part that schools don't really do enough of, and that's reflecting. We like to get you to do a lot of work. We like to give you lots of assignments, but we often don't give you the luxury or the ability to look back on products and process what you've done. We have to move so fast that we forget about how important this is. And it's in the reflection process that you do most of your really good learning. And by reflection, I'm not meaning you're looking at the mark and going, I got an A, it must be good. Or I got an F, I suck. By reflection, I mean you're looking at the product and the process, not just the end result, but how you got there and why you got there. And you're looking at it with the lens of, how can I become better at this? So you're going to look at the evidence you've gathered of your process. So any journals you've made as you've been writing, any notes you've made as you've been working, any conversations on email you've had with friends or what have you, anything you've done to build your product, and anything you did as you delivered your product. You're looking at that with the lens of not was it good or bad, but was it effective? Did I connect with my audience? Did my audience come away understanding my product? Did my audience learn from this? What did I learn from this? And you're going to use that in one last step. You're going to set SMART goals for yourself. SMART goals are specific, they're measurable, they're attainable, they're realistic, and they are timely. So you are going to set specific goals for your next activity. Why is that important? It's important because even after you leave school, you are going to be practicing inquiry. You're going to practice learning. If you go on to university, you're going to do lots of research. If you become an engineer, you're going to have to figure out how to make things. If you become a business person, you're going to be doing lots of inquiry into business models, how to connect with people, how to market your product. There's not a thing you do outside of school that is not going to be involved in inquiry. Nothing important is outside of this framework. So this is an opportunity for you to become better at it. All right, I think that's enough for now. Next time we can talk about what research questions should look like. Thanks for listening.